Now, and if I were the Prime Minister of Australia, there's one bloke I'd be having a word with and saying, look, do you know what you're talking about here? And that's the new Vice-Chancellor of the Western Sydney University. Now, he's only ascended to the role in the last week or so, and he's made it his first order of business to complain about the cost of degrees, particularly arts degrees. He says something that really burns at me is the fact that we're about to have $50,000 degrees for arts students. Arts degrees are often the degree of choice for low socioeconomic status students, for Indigenous people and for women. They are rightfully fearful of having a debt until death because they are unable to ever properly repay it. George Williams is his name. Now, there was a change that was made by the Morrison government whereby they moved the funding that is given to certain university degrees to send it to things they thought people should be studying, i.e. nursing. They now get a lot more government funding than, say, arts degrees, which means you as the student, if you go and study an arts degree, have to pick up more of the tab. To that, I say fair enough. But I also say to Mr Williams, if you're worried about the cost of a degree, now, look, it's a strange idea, but you're the Vice-Chancellor, aren't you? You're the boss of the university. Don't you have some say in the cost of that degree? Could you not find efficiency somewhere so that that degree was cheaper? Of course you're not going to do that because you want the money. What you're really saying is it's not about the cost of the degree, it's about the debt that the student is incurring. And you would prefer more people to come and study at your university, but you don't want them to have to pay for it. So who's going to pay for it? I am. You at home are, because what he's actually asking for is more government subsidy for the degree, not for the cost of the degree to go down. Why can't the universities knock their heads together and reduce the cost of the degree without going, cap in hand to the government, begging them to hand over more money?
Yeah, you've got the government subsidy, you've got the fee component. They want more government subsidy when they could just reduce the fee component.
Well, correct.
And the Vice-Chancellor, and God bless him, good luck to him, but last year at that university, the Vice-Chancellor's wage was just a touch over $1 million a year. So to be saying all these poor students, I mean, they've got to pay 50 grand for an arts degree. Who can help them when the Vice-Chancellor is sitting on $1 million? And I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. I'm just saying the contrast is quite stark.
Indeed. And I had to laugh at his quote because by saying that an arts degree isn't worth 50 grand, like you've just basically admitted these things are bloody useless. Let's not forget, we have one of the fairest systems in the world when it comes to help debt, when it comes to HECS debt. And the students only start repaying that debt once they have reached the threshold, once they are earning enough, then the government says, OK, time to pay up, and they take it incrementally each year. And hopefully, over those years, you start earning more. So to say that someone's degree is going to be so useless to them and fetch them so little money in any future career that 50 grand, say, over the course of 7 years is going to be too much for them to be able to carve out, you've just admitted these degrees are useless. You are not setting your students up for careers or any kind of job in which they can earn enough to pay the rent, pay food, have some sort of quality of life, and pay off the degree that got them to wherever they are at the time. And let's not forget, these are the same unis who, firstly, we're their biggest funder already. By virtue of the government, we, the taxpayer, are already fitting the bill for our universities like nothing else. That's their main source of funding. The government, i.e. us, the taxpayer. And how do they repay us? How do they repay us? We have 730,000 university students in this country as I speak who are all internationals. Yeah. And the unis will give them placements over Australian students who have just as good a grades, but the internationals pay up front and almost 4 times as much. Yeah. So the universities go, stuff you Aussie students, your grades are just as good, but your money's not. We're going to give these guys the placements. While we, the taxpayer, fund these same universities that thumb their noses at Aussies, and then want to pretend, oh, we care so much, government, can you give us some more? Because these useless degrees, you know, that we keep giving to everyone, they're not going to be able to repay 50 grand. I mean, it's utterly nonsense.